welcome to A Gem of a Secret podcast. My name's Donna.
And my name is Coco Gem Holiday.
How are you tonight, Coco?
I am flustered.
Why are you flustered?
I've had a long day, Donna. It's a really long day.
I feel that. This weather has got me feeling all types of ways.
We had a blizzard today, and then also rain and hail and thunderstorm.
And
all
it's
in the
supposed
matter
to
of
snow
an hour.
again this week.
Gross.
It's April. Like, what the actual fuck is happening?
Like, I know that people, it's funny, a coworker of mine said, April showers bring May flowers. I was like, no, they didn't say hail and thunderstorms.
No, they didn't. They didn't
like,
include road closures.
God forbid you tried to, garden this year.
I've noticed that our tulips have sprouted in the backyard, and they're still going strong despite the snow covering them on Monday. But
oh, that's so nice. I do like our tulips.
yeah.
I really do. What are you wearing this evening, Donna?
Well, I'm actually dressed up as Bulma from Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, wow.
So, you know.
Come on, Bulma.
just rocking my Bulma get up. My short little bob.
That's really cute, because I'm dressed up as Velma from Scooby-Doo.
Oh, yeah.
I just really wanted to wear an ugly burnt orange sweater with a complimentary burnt orange skirt, but in a different form of burnt orange.
Yeah.
And then I have a cute little black bob because, I wanted to be ethnic.
Jinkies.
Jinkies.
Well, I think that our outfits fit because we are discussing nostalgia on this episode.
Nostalgia.
Yeah.
When the world was such an easier time when we were chittering.
Yeah, why the world is incredibly heavy, and
It's so heavy.
we've always said that, especially over this last year with how awful things have been. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be so negative, but honestly, it's been a rough few years. It's been very difficult.
It has been.
And I've been recently, in the job market trying to look for more remote work from home, and it is brutal out there.
Yeah.
It's very
brutal.
difficult.
The job market's kind of a mess. The economy's kind of a mess.
We're experiencing the Great Resignation, where people are leaving their jobs because they're no longer feeling fulfilled by them and seeking out opportunities that are more fulfilling, but there are no opportunities.
Well, and the other thing, too, is now they have a lot more remote working opportunities. And the other thing about why there is a lot of opportunities in certain capacities, because a lot of people died because of COVID.
Yeah.
Which is also terrible to think about in that way. And the other thing is, I think we said this on an earlier podcast, but I think we should just mention it now. The reason that restaurants are understaffed is restaurant workers were the ones who got COVID, which means they were the ones dying of COVID. That's why there's a restaurant.
Anyone in the service industry, really.
Yeah.
People working in grocery stores, people working as baristas, any kind of service industry job. They were at the front lines, really getting exposed.
Yeah, and it's really terrible.
Yeah.
And it's funny because as we're talking about nostalgia, even though millennials, which you did want to talk about this, millennials have been through a lot of different horrible things in their lifetime. Donna just showed me a statistic. I haven't looked it up. So if it's not true, please write on our website. But
I'm almost certain it is.
Over 50% of millennials live with their parents still.
Yeah.
And I know that there's a positive spin where millennials will be like, yeah, why would I want to have a rent and be under all this debt and blah 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 when I could live at home. And I actually have a lot of millennial friends who are living at home who talk about, they're like, well, yeah, I might have my student loans paid off in 10 years if I stay at home.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a positive statistic. And I bet some of them are not as negative as it sounds, but the reality is we can't afford a house. We the rent is stupid everywhere.
Yeah.
And we're living in this zone of where we're just being crippled by debt constantly.
Yeah.
And we're told to go to college. We were also generation told to go to college.
We were. Yeah. So which basically what you just said, the exact tweet came from Dan Price, and it said 52% of young adults, so I'm assuming that it also includes some Gen Zers as well, now live with their parents, the highest rate ever, surpassing the Great Depression. The most educated and most in debt generation in history did everything they were supposed to do and got this. The system does not work. So yeah.
And when we were kids, I remember being told, and me and Donna are roughly like we're a little. I think we're roughly about
I think we're
5 years.
5 years
5 years
apart.
apart.
Yeah.
Like I remember being told as a kid that like go to I. Like it was an expectation that I was going to go to college. Like there was never a
Yeah.
question. I
Yeah.
was supposed to go to college.
Yeah, you are going to do this and get an education because we did not, is
Yes.
basically how my parents framed it.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
And I remember. I remember in high school. I don't know if they did this when you guys were in high school, but like uh, my counselor went down a list of college majors,
Yeah.
and she's like, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I always used to say computers,
Yeah.
and she's like, "Well, what does that mean?" And I was like, "Well, because I failed a programming class like hard,
Yeah.
like really hard. I failed this programming class, and in high school, I just couldn't wrap my brain around it. I literally, I think I got an F, and and I took a typing class in high school, which is ridiculous that I had to have a typing class. But yeah, literally, so she was like, you can go into computer science, or you can go into computer information systems, or you can go into this or whatever. I was like, what's computer information systems? That sounds interesting. And she like kind of explained to me what it was, and it didn't really make sense to me, but that's what I went into. That's what I went to college for. Like she had like 4 things on that piece of paper, and then that's the majors I looked for at schools.
Damn, I wish I would have had it figured out that early. I let my parents and also just like any sort of outside factor kind of sway what I did. And so I changed my major multiple times when I was in college.
Really? What did you go in with?
Yeah, so I started out, I think, a history major.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
I was a history major at first. And then I was a psychology major for a hot second, didn't even take any core classes for psychology. Then I was a business major that was probably a good like year and a half. I was a business major, and I took a finance course and dropped out and hated it because the guy called himself an accounting Nazi, and that his course was so hard and hardly ever people pass it. And those professors that just like to be terrible.
I think I remember that professor actually.
Yeah, he was awful.
Yeah, he was real rude.
Yeah, very rude and old. And
he was so old.
Yeah, yep. And so that is what completely kept me from pursuing a business major, was that one single professor.
He was such an asshole.
Yeah, he was terrible. And so then I landed on the easy major, and that was mass communications. Also, one of the more pointless majors. It's a lot of different areas that mass communications covers.
Oh,
so
that's tea.
I focused in journalism, and I didn't end up finishing my degree. I dropped out my junior/senior year, due to a lot of issues, obviously not really having a clear direction in college, and I didn't go back to school until 2021, and I went back for psychology. What I should have stuck with all along.
Which is funny because, like, I think that does fit better for who you are as a person, but I don't know if you would have been able to finish that when you were younger because you just weren't. Like, I feel like psychology is also, like, you have to kind of have a little bit of a direction in your life to, like, want to be able to do that.
You have to have a little bit of a level head. Like, you
Yeah.
can't be, like, dishing out advice to people when you're a complete absolute fuck up,
I really wanted to actually go into psychology, but I also wanted to make money, so there was that.
There's that, too. Yeah, that part.
But I did, yeah, so it's funny, as you're talking about it, I didn't know this, and this is so stupid, by the way. I have to just admit this to you. I went in pre-computer information systems, so, like, we both went to Colorado Mesa University, and, like, I didn't know that you had to declare it, because I wrote down on when I, applied to the school what I wanted to go into my major. I didn't realize you had to declare it.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't declared for, like, the first, like, 2.5 years of my college degree. And then when I realized I had to declare it, that's when they added having to have a history gen ed to the program sheet. And so they were like, well, all of your stuff still applies. And then also on the second page of the requirement sheets, there were like 10 business classes that I had to take.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh God.
Yeah.
And so I remember I loaded myself up that next semester aggressively with business classes, and I was just like, oh my god.
The business classes were so dull.
Oh, they were so boring.
I hated them. I mean, the entrepreneurship classes were okay because like you got to be a little bit creative, but it's also just like business people are draining.
Yeah, they are. And the funny thing is, like, I passed. My major is in computer information system with a minor in writing and rhetoric, with a minor, also a minor in entrepreneurship. And it's because my major had so many damn business classes that I had to take 2 more classes to get a minor in entrepreneurship.
You know what? I did take a computer information systems class in my business major too. It was required to take like 1 computer.
God, CIS 1 was the most boring class
it was so boring.
I don't know why I stayed with that major.
I don't remember a damn thing from it either. That's the thing. A lot of these courses I don't.
It's so stupid. I don't even know what. Oh God. My college. Okay, let me say it this way. All of my education, I thought I was a certain person, and all of my education, I was wrong.
Yeah.
Completely wrong. That's why I never got my PhD. Like, because I was like, I am so sick and tired of going into this stuff. Because I learned about myself, I just complete things. That's what it is. I just complete it regardless if I fail or succeed. I complete it till the end. I never dropped a course. And, like, I was like, okay, well, I'm just doing this now. I hate it, and it's killing me inside, but this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I would just complete it and whatever. And I know if I got my PhD, I would complete that too, and I would want to freaking shoot myself in the foot.
Yeah. And how much debt are we in?
Oh, God, I just checked mine. Oh, and I found out that, they're pushing back student loans again.
Till August.
Oh, till August.
Be nice if they could cancel some of that.
Be nice to cancel some of that horrible debt. I'm at $46,000. I've been paying on it for over a decade. $46,000.
Wow, no end in sight.
No end in sight. It started at $52,000. So I've made no progress.
Yeah, I'm a little over $20,000, and just adding to that,
just
because
going up.
I can't pay out of pocket for the degree that I'm currently trying to get. So it is all grants and student loans that is doing that. Luckily, I don't make enough to like actually qualify for those things, but yeah.
Set it and forget it.
Yeah, I just set it and forget it, and then, my hope is that I work in some sort of, like, public service job for 10 years and just cancel all of that, but who knows? Who knows what'll happen?
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of want to get a side job where I work in nonprofit.
Yeah.
But I think you have to work a certain amount of hours or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. Listeners, if we know how to get us out of student loan
Also,
debt.
Can we just, like, agree to just not pay it back? Can we all just collectively be like, how about we don't pay it back?
Yeah, because it's killing every single person I know.
It's oh my gosh! I just saw something too actually that was like the student loan pause allowed people to catch up on their credit card debt because they weren't constantly having to make the payments.
Yeah,
and so like that's something like I also do have like a certain level of credit card debt as well, and I'm making monthly payments on that to catch up to. While adding also to my student loan debt because that's the thing is like with these jobs too, it's like so many of them require that you have a bachelor's, and I just want that. I want to say that I finished my degree and that I got it finally,
Yeah.
So and I want to have a good job someday. It's a lot. It's so much trying to get the education, stay afloat. I'm 30 years old and I don't have like a clear career path for myself, and it's scary. It's terrifying.
Well, especially when you want so badly to follow your passions. Donna and I have had a lot of passions in life and whatever, and like everybody always says this. By the way, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but like a lot of people say to me, and this is going to sound like I'm bragging, but it's not. Just a lot of people say to me that I'm bigger than X. They always say that. They're like, you're bigger than X.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so because like I recently did a show in Ashland where the owner of the establishment was there and she watched me perform, and then she was just hanging out in Portland this weekend, like the weekend after. And she saw me doing like a show that had like the attendance was like 10 people at the Queen's Head or whatever. And then she drunkenly walked her way back into the dressing room as I was changing. She's like, who's Coco? And I was like, well, I'm Coco. And she's like, I just wanted to let you know you're just so much bigger than like all of this. And you just need to know that. Like, you just need to you're bigger than all of this. And I don't know what that means. Like, I know what it means in concept, but like, I feel like if I was gonna make it in that platform of drag, I would have to quit my job and like move to Chicago.
It takes a lot
or
of blind
move to
faith.
New York, like, and just like go in.
Well, and not really even blind faith. It just takes like a lot of believing in yourself and having like a lot of like confidence. I mean, you talk about things like manifestation and The Secret and all that. It takes like putting all your eggs in that basket and not being distracted by a career.
And like, and the thing is, people think that I might potentially like half-ass certain things that I do in my life. The thing is, I give it a lot. But like, yeah, if I put 100% of my energy, like right before we left, I've said on this podcast before, right after we left Grand Junction, I was almost about to apply to be on the city council.
Yeah.
Like, because I was like really moving in a political direction.
Yeah.
The thing is, when I'm passionate about something, I do give it a lot of energy and a lot of time and a lot of effort. But like, I also, God, that phrase kills me, because I'm going to be 80 years old wondering if I missed the opportunity for X.
Yeah.
Or the X that these people can see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just whatever. Oh, I forgot to ask. Donna, how are you doing this evening?
I will let you know after this brief break.
Drag Danger Zone is a monthly showcase featuring new and established performers every month, every fourth Thursday at Mississippi Pizza, located at 3552 North Mississippi Avenue. This fun cabaret variety show is hosted by Marla Darling, Valerie DeVille, and DJ Aurora. For ticket info, find us on Instagram at Drag Danger Zone PDX or Facebook at Drag Danger Zone. And get into the zone. The Drag Danger Zone, that is.
It's a podcast with Coco and Donna. Tell a podcast. Tune into what they tell you podcast. With Coco and Donna. Tell a podcast.
Well, Coco, I think it's fair to say I'm feeling a little nostalgic. Because we're talking about nostalgia.
Yeah, so you know, it's interesting because like, so when we were kids, like we were talking about this before the episode started, like when I was a kid, like marriage equality wasn't really a thing. Like,
no,
I was one of the kids who had to be home before the street lights turned on, but really that didn't actually mean that. My mom just meant I had to be like out front by the time the street lights were on.
Yeah, we definitely, I mean, I definitely like rode bikes around with the neighbor kids, and you know, like that was definitely what my childhood was about. Like obviously our parents did keep a bit of a closer watch on us than maybe like parents of the 70s.
Yes.
But
yes.
That was also because I think our parents were really aware of the dangers that other generations weren't.
Yeah, well, because my mom was born in 1947, so my mom was born in the 40s, which is crazy to think about. You know, and I've already said on this podcast, like my mom was like 17 when Martin Luther King was like, you know, assassinated, you know, same day that Anne Frank died. Like, you know, these things aren't as long ago as people like to remember that they are. But even like when we were kids, like, so like I was one of the generations, like cell phones weren't really a thing yet. Like we had landlines.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel like I'm dating myself, but like a lot of kids didn't have these things. Like we had one computer in the classroom, like that was it. And that's kind of like I grew up without technology. I had like game systems, like I had an Atari, like when I was like 3 years old, and then I had a Super Nintendo. I remember around the age of 5 or 6.
Yeah. I was really the generation of like the N64 and the original PlayStation. That was more so what I had as a kid. I mean, I do remember playing like Super Nintendo when I was really young, but those game systems really came to prominence when I was, you know, able to play them. So
yeah. I remember being able to buy I bought, because with my last paycheck from one of my jobs, because it was like a big paycheck for me, I bought a GameCube and an Xbox with it. Like I was so excited because like at that time they'd been out for a while, and I think they were only like $150 each, and my paycheck was like $400, and I was like, ooh. And so like I bought a GameCube and an Xbox, and I was so thrilled with myself for doing that. Yeah, like I was so stupid.
What are some of the? I mean, obviously for you, Sailor Moon is one of them, one of the big things. But what were some of the big like cultural influences you had that you still are like crazy about today. I mean, Pokemon. I don't think that that'll ever be a thing that I stop.
Well, the
liking.
funny thing is, like, Sailor Moon got kicked off the air for Pokemon. Like, that is the Pokemon took the time slot of Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
And so I remember hating Pokemon for
Really?
a very long time because I loved Sailor Moon so much. Like, I thought it was such a great show. Let's see, the cultural significance. So, I think the funny thing is, like, so my middle name in drag is Gem, and that comes from Gem and the Holograms. I actually didn't watch that when I was growing up at all.
Yeah.
I found out about it in high school, I think. Late high school, early college is actually when I learned of Gem. I didn't know about it when I was a kid. I would have loved to know about that as a kid. But it was like actually, no, it was early 80s, I think, is when Gem came out. So, like, but anyway, my cultural significance is I don't know if something like media-wise
Influenced you?
shaped me to, like, now being 35. I don't know if I had media that shaped me so aggressively. Like, I know that, like, the Powerpuff Girls was a big thing for me because I liked that they were all about justice and stupidity.
Yeah.
Because that was a kid. I remember...
I think I like witchy dark things because of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That's one thing that as a kid I watched. Like, when my parents would be watching their shows in the living room, I would run to their room and watch Buffy on their TV because obviously my family did not want to watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Of course.
So...
Star Trek Voyager was actually... I liked it because it had a strong female lead.
Yeah.
And I liked that they were problem-solving things. I really liked problem-solving things in magic.
Yeah.
Like, so Charmed as a kid, for me, was, like, a huge effing deal.
Yeah.
Like, I loved Charmed. Stuff like that. And then, when I was a super little kid, though, like, I remember just loving Gummy Bears. That was, like, one of my favorite shows to watch was Gummy Bears and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I remember you singing that theme song at karaoke.
I love that theme song. That's a dang good theme song. I used to just... Actually, the funny thing is, I think what shaped me in high school years was the fact that I loved cartoons so much. Like, when I found anime... I just finished the first 2 seasons of High School Defense Club, whatever it's called, about the boys who are like Sailor Moon. I just finished the first 2 seasons of that. Yeah, and the OVA. I just finished all of those right now. But I love... The thing that I loved about anime is it was like anime grew with me. Like, anime was like really adult when I was a kid, and then as I rewatched it as an adult, like, it was still... old, like, it's still, like, now it registers differently, like Inuyasha and all the themes in that. And the thing is, like, so I remember this is kind of funny. So one of my favorite video games of all time, and actually maybe this is what influenced me, was Final Fantasy X-2. And there was a meme that went around that said, like, here's a secret, like, the video game you played with a kid, if you replay it as an adult, it's not going to carry the same weight. And that is true, because, like, when I was a very little kid, we played GoldenEye, but those graphics are so bad.
So bad.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God.
Oh, good God.
Pixelated and boxy as shit.
Pixelated is so boxy.
The heads are, like, literal squares.
I was just like, ah.
Yeah,
those are, like, oh, man, like, playing that again as an adult, I don't know who the hell I was playing that with, but it was, like, really bad, and I was just like, oh my goodness, I can't even believe we ever played this.
I kind of did play the original Kingdom Hearts even, and I remember the graphics when that came out, they were like groundbreaking. I remember my parents were watching me play it, and they're like, this is like you're playing a movie, like just different reactions to it, and I don't know. That is probably the game that gives me the most nostalgia is playing Kingdom Hearts.
I remember playing Kingdom Hearts all the way through. I'm a girl who uses strategy guides. I like to get everything the first time because I don't play shit twice. I currently, Adam bought me Kingdom Hearts 3 is what I currently have for Xbox One, and I don't have a strategy guide, and it looks like they didn't make one for that game, so I might have to like go through like an online whatever. But like I like because Brady Games, you still make strategy guides. They just didn't make one for that one. And like because Kingdom Hearts 4.
Have you seen the trailer?
I have seen the trailer. It looks
cool.
good.
It looks really cool.
It looks really really good. And like I don't know, just like I don't know. It's just one of those things of like I'm just really impressed.
Yeah.
With like how that game franchise has like evolved and it did. I remember simple and clean as the way that you're making me feel tonight. It's hard to let go. Yeah. I love like every time that started, like when you like that's
when you walk away. Oh my gosh, it was so good.
That was a good commercial.
I would listen to that song over and over again.
Yeah, actually that's funny because that song, which I don't think I've said on the podcast before. That song was actually made by Utada Hikaru, which is actually because I don't know actually whatever happened to her, but she was one of my favorite Japanese artists.
Really?
And she came out with a song called Prisoner of Love, which is actually one of the songs from one of my favorite, like, live action, not a live action, it's just one of my favorite Japanese dramas. And the funny thing is when I visited Japan, because Japan is real big about their marketing, like, every time I turned a corner, it would be like, I'm a prisoner. Like, it was on everything. It was on every TV, every song, every billboard, every screen was Utada Hikaru singing this song, and she's the one who sang the theme song to Simple and Clean.
Yeah.
And so when I was in Japan, like, that was just, like, a really, like, I guess that's one of those moments where, like, Kingdom Hearts, like, to this, and, like, all this other music that she created was just amazing. I loved her for it. It was so good. So good.
That's cool.
So the other reason we wanted to talk about nostalgia is like kind of how it plays into life today a little bit as well. And I remember, like, I don't necessarily want to go to my high school years, but I remember as a kid, I had really weird. Did you have, let me ask you first, did you have weird goals for yourself for when you became an adult? Or like, not, or like goals in general that kind of, you're like, oh God, no.
I mean, I thought I was going to be in the closet all my life, kind of.
Oh, well, this just got sad.
Yeah. So, I mean, eventually I think I deep down wanted to, like, be able to be myself. But I think, unfortunately, in high school, a lot of the things that I was doing were to make my parents happy. And not necessarily... So, like, actually, I would say in high school, I lost a lot of the things that made me unique and that I used to love. You know, like, I used to be way into Dragon Ball Z, and I used to be way into, you know, just, like, different types of, like, I mean, like, even Buffy the Vampire Slayer and all that, you know, like, I really loved those types of things, and when I got into high school, I became, like, a really watered-down version of myself, so...
Well, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, I don't know, I think I had dreams of some sort of, like, notoriety or leaving some sort of, like, mark on the world in some way. I think in high school I probably wanted to be like a conservative politician at some point because I was indoctrinated into that way of thinking. But so yeah, very weird and very opposite from how I am now as a leftist and very anti-establishment, very anti, you know, two-party system.
I am, well... Mine was not as... So my... So
What?
Well, no, because, like, I'm bisexual, probably pansexual.
Yeah.
I haven't said that out loud to anybody yet. I'm tired of coming out of the closet. I really effing am. Being 35 and still just effing with... Okay, side note, before I answer my question, I have to say that this is killing me. And especially because I do have negative feelings about the trans community as a whole, about how they aggressively push people into labels and don't let people just figure it out themselves. And it does happen a lot in the trans community. And also, I need to tell everyone this, and most trans people know this themselves. From day to day, you wake up sometimes not feeling any of the labels for the day before where you felt 100% comfortable and 100% euphoric.
Yeah.
Like, there are days I wake up just destroyed with my gender identity. There are days I wake up destroyed with my sexual orientation. And it has to deal with outside factors, internal factors, how I view myself, all these other things. Like, come out to myself almost on a daily basis about the labels that make me feel most comfortable.
Yeah.
Like, it's so jarring. And like, and I just feel like the trans community, because technically me and Donna fall under that umbrella,
Yeah.
because anybody not cis is trans. Like, you just leave space for people to like also have bad days just sometimes. Like, that would be my rallying cry to the trans community, is just please give people like the opportunity. I have friends all the time who will be online being like, I really need he him pronouns today.
Yeah.
And like, we should respect that. And yes, not everybody sees the status or whatever, but if you do see it, how about you try to respect them in those pronouns that they want to use that day?
Yeah.
Like, or they're like, I'm a he they today. I don't know, like, I don't know, I opened an alphabet soup today and I just was like, he they, and that's what I need. Like, but that's also reality for people who are not fitting into any of the like verbal language of identities that we've set forth.
Yeah.
And so I just want people to just leave space for people who are just effing struggling with it from day to day.
For sure. And do you know what else is extremely restrictive of like gender expression and gender identity? Capitalism.
Oh yeah, that's
I feel like not having the money and funds to like express myself in the way that I want to also definitely keeps me from exploring a lot more of my gender identity even more. So that's unfortunate.
Yeah, like today, like for me, today I was wearing a black jacket, I had a black jacket on, I had a black beanie, like my beard's at the length that I like it to be at, even with the salt and pepper in it, and like I was wearing like some nice jeans because I bought some smaller jeans since I've lost a little weight, and I felt very sexy. I felt incredibly euphoric, like it was beautiful. And then like 2 weeks ago, I was wearing a skin tight, like, you know, dress and whatever like that, showing off my legs. My mom got me these new heels that make me feel so sexy. My body was looking right because I lost weight, and like my tits looked amazing, and like my makeup was on point, and I got this new wig that just gives me all kinds of euphoria. And like, so yeah, like 2 weeks ago, like my feminine side was just like taking over my world, but I loved it because I felt euphoric from moment to moment. And then today I felt incredibly euphoric, catching myself in a bathroom mirror, being like, oh my God, this is me. This is how I present. This is how I feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And like, so I still identify as bigender, but like, just like I was struggling really hard there for like 5 seconds about, I'm like, oh my God, I might be trans.
Yeah.
And then like, just stuff like that. And like, sometimes it's going to change.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Sometimes
yeah.
it does.
Yeah, it will. And yeah, I think honestly it would be better if we had more opportunity to explore that. But I think that like living in the confines of the system that we currently live in keeps us from doing that a lot of the time.
Absolutely. And so, not to go too far down that tangent, so to answer the question that I posed, oh wait, no, it was like, goals.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, my goal was, I wanted to, by the age I was 30, when I was like roughly high school kid, I wanted to, because I had an older mom, and this is still a thing I struggle with today, I wanted to have kids in my 20s, and I wanted to be married in my 20s. But there was a period of time where I wanted to be from 20 to 25. I wanted to live on my own. I wanted to live on my own so I could walk around my house naked and masturbate whenever I wanted to. That's what I've never actually admitted that out loud to anybody, but welcome, listeners.
Yeah, here you go.
Because I lived at my mom's house, of course, and like masturbation was always a secret.
Yeah.
And like, because it had to be, you lived at your mom's house. But I remember thinking to myself, because sex was so exciting and fun in that way of self-pleasure, that I wanted to have my own space to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, I wanted to have my own apartment, and I wanted a studio, at first when I was like first moving out, and I wanted to be able to buy my own food and eat what I wanted. And like, I was now that I'm older and actually dialoguing this, I think I just wanted freedom. I mean, my mom wasn't really restrictive. It's just that she was a foster care provider, and there was always just like a fuck ton of people in our house all the time, and I just wanted to be alone. I think that's the biggest thing. I just wanted to be alone, and I never actually got the feeling of being alone, because when I graduated from college, I did actually live in a hotel by myself, which is weird to say, for 6 months after I graduated
Disney
from college.
college program?
The Disney college program, I had roommates, and
Oh,
so
okay.
like a lot of roommates. So that was never really me feeling alone. It was cool for the independence, but it was when I lived in the hotel after I graduated, and then I moved in into a house with roommates. So
Okay.
I did get it for 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I probably wanted some of the same things when I was younger. I remember watching Zoe 101 and wanting to go to Pacific Coast Academy so bad. Like, being on the beach, like, living in my own dorm room away from my family. But most of all, I think as a kid, one thing I wanted that I definitely don't want now is, like, I wanted, like, absolute fame when I was younger. Like, I wanted to be famous. I wrote songs about wanting to be famous when I was a little kid. Like, I legit, like, I remember even for, like, my 10th birthday, we were in Disneyland, and I was most excited about going on the movie set tour in Universal Studios. So then I could see, like, where all my favorite shows were filmed and hopefully meet a celebrity, and maybe I would get discovered or something. And now that I've gotten older, fame is so awful and toxic, and the platform for what it means to get like a lot of notoriety and a lot of recognition means that you have to combat constant basically people that don't know you making assumptions about you
Constantly, yeah.
constantly. And I've become a lot more reclusive as I've gotten older and a lot more private, and I realize that I want that more for myself, and I don't want all that notoriety and recognition. So it's something that I'm like, also with the, even like with doing this podcast and kind of like making my return out into doing the live version of this podcast on April 28th, that the Queen said, 7 to 9 p.m. That I definitely like see myself getting some anxieties about. But it's something that I also feel like I need to conquer. I need to be able to communicate with people and communicate with my community, and just accept the fact that we have made this platform for ourselves where we do get to speak out on important issues, and that there's some weight to that.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think that, so I get the anxieties too. I still want to be famous, but I don't want to be like, I do agree with like there was like a snippet that a lot of actors did, or actually not a lot of actors. It's just like talking about what fame is. Like, do you want to be famous? People said, like, a lot of actors said no, because fame is disgusting. Like, that's why Gaga created the fame monster, because fame is awful. Like, you want to do a thing that you love that is an entertainment, and you want people to love the work that you're doing.
Yeah.
But that comes with fame if you get big enough, and fame is terrible. It can make you really depressed. Like, remember, everybody knows this, like, Gaga got dropped by her first label. And I bet they're kicking themselves now, but like, it's true. It's one of those things that's like heartbreaking. Like, I went to a 303 concert on campus, and I remember I was like, God, this is so silly. Like, they used to record songs with Katy Perry and blah 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 blah, and like, my friend turned to me, he's like, because they're not famous anymore.
Yeah.
Like, that's why they're doing this college show. They're not famous anymore.
Yeah.
And that's also like Shia LaBeouf, for instance.
You can lose relevancy so quickly.
You can, like, with you're not consistently in front of people with the crap that you're doing, and that's hurtful and that's gross. And the reason I was talking about all of that is, like, I do get the anxieties of fame too. Like, to make it, I would have to consistently stay relevant, but my mental health has taken a hit so much because of cancellation.
Yeah, even just at a local level.
At a local level, like, to be famous at that level, like, I would have to, in some capacities, play in the mud in a way I don't want to.
Yeah.
Like, I'm done playing in the mud with people who just want to treat me terribly. Like, I don't. So the funny thing is, I don't agree with Babs' phrase anymore, Babylon Brooks' phrase. I love it, and it does make sense, but Babylon says, stop putting in an energy into people who are committed to misunderstanding you. That is a true statement, except when it's in entertainment, because what happens is, you can't get the bookings or the dialogues or the conversations if you consistently
shut out people
who have those opportunities, right?
Yeah.
And that's what sucks.
Yeah.
Like, entertainment is literally going into the lion's den and more than likely getting bit.
Yeah, and attempting to change a lot of perspectives because people already have a narrative about you in their head that was either strung together by the media or, put together by whatever platform you got famous on. I mean, for RuPaul's Drag Race, for instance, or any kind of reality TV.
Yeah, actually, let's talk about some local drama from a very high-level perspective because of this. I think it's actually really interesting what happened recently, and I'm not going to actually give weight to either side, but what I will say is this. There was an artist online who goes by the name Mimi Gina who kind of, not attacked, but, had a criticism of another entertainer, Sue from Corporate, being in a punk show. What happened at the end of this was that Sue took that, posted it online and whatever, and rallied followers. So technically it led to a cancellation of Mimi Gina. And what I was seeing in the comments is people kept saying, who even is this person? And Mimi Gina is kind of a newer entertainer. And it immediately reminded me of, the stuff that, of course happened to me. Where people they're literally saying they don't know this person.
Yeah.
But people are now making criticisms because this person attacked Sue from Corporate and blah, 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 blah. And do I think that either side is necessarily right or wrong? I mean, sure, I have my personal opinions, but the problem is with that level of trying to be famous in this community or famous as a drag artist or whatever is how you handle yourselves when those moments happen. Mm-hmm. Sue ended up creating merch from it, and a lot of people actually bought the merch.
Yeah.
And the only reason that I think that happened is that because this community more so sided with Sue's side of the story than Mimi Gina's.
Yeah.
And that led to a positive for Sue. But now there's all these comments on the internet trashing this other entertainer.
Yeah.
So how much of a win really is it?
Yeah, that's rough. I mean, I don't know. I don't know much even about the situation to make an informed comment on it. But, yeah, I think that when things like this happen, obviously, it was the other person's decision to go on there and call someone out by name. And you and I have both talked about this. I think when it's done in an inflammatory sense, not just referential like we do on this podcast, by the way, just so no one gets it twisted. If there are any names that are brought up, it's purely for reference.
Yeah.
I, at least on my end,
yeah,
and on Coco's end, that's kind of how it's been.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think it's really great to air that out for everyone to because you're opening doors for people to attack either way.
You're opening doors for people to have an opinion, and guess what? What if people thought that this is actually an interesting point. What if people thought Sue from Corporate was in the wrong, and then she created this merch and all of this stuff. You're giving, because there were people in the community who posted oh, the girls are being messy online today, stuff like that, and that because that's the situation they were obviously talking about.
Yeah.
And you have to think about it. If the community had turned against Sue, that would have did a number on Sue's mental health.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like we said, to be famous, it's almost like you have to fight publicly to keep your honor, keep your name, and that is so toxic, and that's not in every community. That is a very Portland thing. But there is a lot of that that happens with celebrities. Lizzo's Rumors song that she came out with actually has the line reading shit I think the second chorus is reading shit on the internet, my smoothie cleanse and my diet.
Yeah.
And no, I ain't fucked Drake yet. That's even it's in a song, Lindsay Lohan's is Rumors, and every celebrity has a song about paparazzi and the rumors about them on the internet.
But that's tongue in cheek. I think it's cool when it's tongue in cheek, and I think even the merch that Sue did was sort of tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
But obviously, I think there's also the instances where if you're going back at someone and mentioning them by name, it just adds fuel to the fire, and
it does.
I don't know. It's not anything that I'm about. Honestly, if anyone ever mentioned me, I would just gray rock them. I wouldn't.
Gray rock?
Yeah, I would give them the gray rock treatment. It's how you handle narcissists and people who have sociopathic tendencies,
I don't know what that means.
you act like a gray rock. You give them no reaction and act like the most boring person whatsoever because people are seeking the reaction.
Yeah, the funny thing is, see, that's what sucks though, that's what's really interesting about that point, is because I have been asked why, outside of this podcast, because people want me to name names and just give all dirty details, and in some of our most popular episodes, or when we somewhat get into the nitty-gritty without ever saying names, because that's just how we are. And it's so I believed in Donna's mechanism because it can save your mental health.
Yeah.
Like, if you just give them nothing.
Yeah.
Give them no reaction whatsoever. But what happens with the internet is that they will then write a full narrative about you. And actually, we got a comment on our last podcast, actually, from some people in the community, was I said, it just seems sometimes when you cancel people online, it just seems like they really just want the person to kill themselves.
Yeah.
And they said that line was really impactful to them because they did want to know, like, what is the resolution? Is that really what they want from me?
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to amend that because that was really harsh and I was in my feels in the moment. I want to amend it to saying, because it's usually about drag artists in this capacity. When it's about drag and they're talking about you online, they want you to quit drag and no longer be in their spaces. I thought about that really hard.
They want you to disappear.
They want you to disappear. And they would feel guilty if you died or killed yourself, but they want you to stop doing drag and they want you to not be in any of their spaces.
Yeah, because they think that you're like a toxic component of the community in their lens.
Yeah. So I'm glad I remembered that in this conversation because I did want to amend that to not like put too much weight on the words that people have said otherwise.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That was a tangent.
Yeah, I mean it was. Here we are talking about nostalgia, and then we get into the price of fame, and
that's because you wanted to be famous as a kid, or and then now you don't anymore. But let's circle back real fast, like to the nostalgia stuff. I think that actually, and I'm going to ask you this question.
Yeah.
Do you think? Oh, did we do this on an early episode? If we did, we can skip it. But like, what would you say if you were on Drag Race? And, like, you had the picture. And if we have done this before, I think we should just do it again because I think it would be interesting.
Yeah, my perspective's probably changed since the last time we did this, if we have.
Let's do a picture where you're 7 years old.
7-year-old Donovan.
So, I'll be RuPaul. Donatella. What would you say to 7-year-old, insert boy name here?
Well, I would tell 7-year-old me that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to try and repress what is different about you. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to try and sway you in a direction that isn't true to yourself because they want to mold you into the idea of what they think you should be. And to that, you need to ignore it. You need to be incredibly independent, strong, and unique regardless of the consequences it may bring you. And you'll thrive because otherwise there'll be a lot of years just spent not loving that part of yourself.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
I should have had you go second. I do actually remember that we have done this before.
We have, yeah.
Actually, as you started, I was like, well, you have to say the thing.
Coco, what would you say to 7-year-old, insert name here?
I will change it, actually. I do kind of remember what I said.
I kind of remember what you said, too.
You are a little wrong in the direction that you think that your life is going to. Those feelings that you feel inside are real. They will not go away just because you were raised by women. You like to wear dresses, and there's nothing wrong with that. And you will forever, even in your adult life, feel guilty from that, but you're going to start finding euphoria in that. And I know you don't know what that word means, but you're actually going to feel comfortable in women's clothing when you're a little older for reasons outside of just putting them on. You also need to recognize that you are a go-getter, and everything that you've done in life up until this point is preparing you even at 7 years old, from the bullies that you've had to deal with, from the sad moments you've had, from the foster siblings that you've gotten into arguments with. Everything is preparing you to the fact that you know how to talk to people, and you will learn how to talk to people, and you have literally accomplished so much. You will accomplish so much if you just put your mind to it. I would caution you on second guessing a lot of your decisions. Don't live for regrets. Live for the chances that you haven't taken, and live for the chances that you will take. I was like, and don't look back.
Yeah.
Just keep moving forward, and I promise you, you will end up where you need to be. And just remember that cute boy who works at the natural grocers, like, he's really pretty, and you should not just ignore that, because guess what? You might be pleasantly surprised when you see somebody who might be out of your league.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, good job, both of us.
We're great. We're so great. Oh, but we need to, how we should end this episode is we need to talk, we have a Patreon.
We do, yes. It's a Gem of a Secret podcast at Patreon, spelled exactly as our podcast is spelled. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we would like to get some ideas on what you would like to see if you do become a patron. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking some bonus episodes, maybe some exclusive content.
I'm thinking that the live show should probably be released there first.
Yeah, I agree.
And then they will come to all the other listeners weeks later.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Our first interviewee for the live show
is
going to be Astrid. Astrid is a gender nonconforming individual who is Black, who's been through a lot of different things in this community specifically. They are currently helping out the Queen's Head while we're doing our first run-through of this show. We are sorry in advance for any and all audio quality issues that may come from that episode.
It's our first run.
It's our first run-through, but we're so excited to see all of you out there getting to hear the conversations that we're going to have with Astrid.
Yeah.
And we love them so much.
Yes, we do.
So,
all right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in this week.
Bye.
Bye. This has been another episode of a Gem of a Secret podcast. The hosts of a Gem of a Secret podcast are Donna and Coco Gem Holiday. You can follow Donna at Donatella_MySecrets on Instagram.
You may follow Coco Gem Holiday at Coco Gem Holiday on Instagram. Original music by Touche Douche and Party Favors. You can follow them respectively at Touche Likes Beef and Party Favors Music on Instagram. For more content, follow them online at www.agemofasecretpodcast.com. That is www.agemofasecretpodcast.com.